Alright, y'all, you know it's about to start. Rostermania. The Call of Duty Black Ops 6 season for competitive pro play has officially concluded. So we're gonna talk about like what my guesses are on Rostermania and all that. First things first, Optic, Call of Duty World Champs, EWC champions. So I mean there's no reason for them to make a change. We know that. I know we still see I saw this actually from Jacob Hale. Spoke to some Optic fans who still think they should make a roster change to get Simp. That's not gonna happen. You just won two of the events the most important events of the year in pretty much dominating fashion. And then next year is Black Ops 7. So the mechanics and all that stuff's gonna be close to the same. I mean, let's be honest. So Optic, they're not gonna make a change. There's no reason they would. If they would have placed bad at this event, then maybe you could have seen an argument if FaZe would have still done bad as well and broken up. But they're not gonna make that change. Let's talk about Surge real quick. Here's just a post from the flank. Second place in a minor, 4 second places in majors. If you count EWC as a major, I would, even though it's kind of its own thing. But important tournament nonetheless. It's hard because like you're right there, right? What changes could you make to become a better roster? And I think that's going to allude to like a lot of different changes throughout other teams, like 100 Thieves, FaZe, and so on and so forth. But you're right there, but you just cannot get over a hump, and every time you lose, it's to a team that's on a streak. All right, so you got this roster, right? They win the first 2 events of the year. They're looking good. They had stuck it out from last year after kind of a bad year, not a bad year, but not like exceeding expectations until they win EWC. They stick it out. Now they've come to a point where they've lost 2 events, 2 of the biggest events of the year, very early in the tournament. So what do you do here? It's clear it's not working, so it's time for these guys to probably make a split. If I had to guess, I think everybody's kind of in the same boat there. They're going to make a split. So based off how these guys have also performed, it would not be past me if these 2 in particular, I know Nate Shot has said that they're under contract through the next season, but these 2 I think could be up in the air to be replaced. And I'm looking at Simp and I'm looking at Celium, and I'm thinking one or not both might end up on this LA Thieves roster. Again, these guys had a good season all throughout the year, but then when it mattered most, they couldn't do it. Scrappy even says it in his post-game interview after they got eliminated EWC. Like, majors are cool and all, but I want to win the big ones. They don't do it. I don't think these 2 are droppable. It's too bad because these guys have become role players. Envoys are like a great support SMG. And Ghosty, the past 2 years going into this year, like, he was pretty elite. But when you join together with these other 3, it's like your role gets kind of diminished. And these guys want to win. So it would not put it past me if one, if not 2 of them got in. I'm not going to say it's going to happen because I doubt it. But for a flex role, if he's available, I know Scrap and him do not like each other. But let's not forget, you guys, we cannot forget that he had beef with these 2 before joining. So, you never know. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It would not shock me if Simp or Celium or both end up on the LA Thieves roster, swapping out one of these 2. I think Abizi. I think he's going to end up with Falcons. With their Saudi money, they have money to spend. So, if they need to buy out the contracts, I don't know what the contract situation is. I want to say Simp and Draza are free agents, but I don't know that off the top of my head. Abizi, definitely, he might end up on Falcons. I think they have the money. He'll team up with Pred. But at least 2 of them stick together. So then the real question is, like, who ends up on FaZe? Well, if these 2 get dropped or one of them do, I think one of them will end up on FaZe for sure. I think you can still at least keep one of these guys, if not 2 of them. Like I said, this is a kind of a bold prediction on these 2 ending up there. I think at least one of them ends up on Thieves. One of them ends up on Falcons, and 2 of them remain. But I still think that there's that possibility that these 2 end up on Thieves. So then you look at the rest of these teams, right? So, like I said, Optics remaining the same, and most would say probably that everybody else is going to make a swap. I'm not so certain about Heretics making a swap just because of the whole like Spanish dynamic. I'm not sure of any like Spanish prodigies that are coming up, so don't attack me on that. If there is one, maybe they'll fill in, but they've gotten really good results the last couple tournaments. They were literally inches away from making the final for EWC, and the way that Optic smoked Surge, like you would think that maybe Heretics would probably have won that final. So I'm not sure that Heretics will make a change, but I do think everyone else does. Falcons, like I said, I kind of already went over that. They do need to upgrade in the AR department. They have probably the biggest money available to go out and buy. So I do see one of the FaZe guys ending up on Falcons. Like I said, if the LA Thieves roster doesn't stick together, I do see at least one or two of those ending up here, which would leave, if it's going to be a swap, it would leave these two. And ideally, they could end up on a Falcons team. They could end up on FaZe. So the rest of them, it's going to be kind of internal. With Ultra, I mean, you just got Abe now. They did make a far run under Movie Star, so you could try to ride it out. At what point do you move on from the CleanX Insight combo? I mean, it just hasn't worked long term yet, so I don't know what else you could do there, but they probably will be looking for a change. Rocker for sure need to make a change. And like I said, Surge is the only other one that's kind of like, who do you swap in or out? And it would have to be an upgrade. And at this point, it's either someone from the LA Thieves or FaZe, so you just kind of hope that that kind of breaks up a little bit. Personally, also, just a side note, I wish they would get rid of location-based and just let orgs go back to, like, organizations. I think that that's still on its way coming, but who knows when. It would just be nice to see some old orgs back in the league, if they could even add 4. I know the funding, and there's so much behind-the-scenes stuff that we can't really go over in this video, but Envy could get back in, if even like Rise Nation could get back in, some other old orgs, that'd be really cool to see. But yeah, curious to know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Who's swapping? Let me know. We're going to be doing more videos, so you're going to want to hit that subscribe button, because we're going to keep up with all the Rostermania. I know Rab is like everybody's go-to, so I'm going to go over kind of my own type of stuff, similar to his content, but like a little bit different, make it my own. But Rostermania has always been like so interesting to me. I love the Call of Duty esports, but yeah, hit that follow button or that subscribe button for wherever you hear this. We're gonna keep going over Rostermania, go over next season when that stuff comes. For anything FPS, we'll be here. I'm gonna be that guy for you, so stick along. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Adios.